Morning, Ms. Goodman.
My client's attempting to log on right now, and I'm on the phone with her. So if you can bear with me just a brief moment.
I can't today, Mr. Taylor. I'll watch for her, but I've got to get started because I'm on a real tight schedule today. So
Okay, I understand.
I'll watch for her. We are here today on a review hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming and Ms. Goodman's making our record this morning. All right, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trow for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Nicole Brooks is my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Mr. Montez. I am not expecting my client, but I am ready.
You're muted, Mr. Taylor.
My client is Serenity Center and attempting to log in, I hear, but I'm here and ready on her.
Okay, we'll watch for her.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Beto.
Okay, then. What do we have new since court report was filed?
Sorry, I couldn't get my screen to unmute. Mom is in rehab currently. I have found Juan. He is at the TDCJ in Plainview. I've made contact with him. There was also a new alleged father that the mother told me about that I've also made contact with. Both are willing to paternity test. And that's all that's new since my court report was filed.
Okay, who is she named?
His name's Julian Rivera.
Judge, we went ahead and let him in.
Okay.
And Ms. Brooks had a phone call with him this past week, I do believe.
Yes, sir.
All right, and does he live here locally or where is he?
Yes, his original address before he was arrested was with his mom in Amarillo. He told me his plans once he gets out and works the program is to actually move in with Andrea and her family.
Okay, I think we're talking about two different people. I'm asking about this new alleged father.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, he is in TDCJ also.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood, Judge Baker.
Okay. So what order are we going to do genetic testing? Are we going to do one of our little magical orders and we try to get them both done?
That would work since they're both in TDCJ. If we could do that, I would like to go ahead and try to get it done on both of them if we could.
Okay, send me an order and I'll sign it. All right, what other progress has mom made?
She's completed her parenting. She actually did that the Thursday before she went into rehab. And once she's out of rehab, we will have, and she completed her OSAR. That's how she got into rehab. Once she's out, she'll complete her counseling and get her psychosocial done. She has tested negative on the last 2 drug screens I've given her. I just got the other one back the other day, so I need to get that filed, but she has tested negative on the last 2.
What are we doing about visitation at this point in time?
She hadn't had any visits when she entered rehab, but I just got the second negative drug screen back and I had just found her in April. So before she entered rehab, she was having virtuals, with him.
All right, so assuming when she completes and we continue to have negative drug screens, then I assume we'll try to set up more in the way of visitation.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is Beto placed?
He is with his maternal aunt in Amarillo.
Okay, so he is here.
Yes.
All right. Okay, Mr. Taylor.
I believe testimony has already covered pretty much everything. As she said, my client's in inpatient rehab at Serenity in Plainview, and it's an opportunity to complete her services when she gets out.
Okay. All right, Ms. Sapien.
Nothing to add, Judge. I'm just glad my client has been located.
Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala.
Beto's doing great in a family placement. He's trying to walk, has a mouthful of teeth, doing great. And I do recommend that placement continue.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator. Find that there would be a continuing and ongoing danger to return the child home at this point in time, that the department will continue to use reasonable efforts to reunify the family. And, at this point, I would say everybody's in compliance with what they can do. We'll continue Beto's placement. Our final is set for August 13th of 2024, and that's on a 9 o'clock docket. All right, Mr. Taylor, she never did get logged in, so you can let her know what happened and she needs to just keep working her services.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you all. We're here today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
We're conducting
Thank you.
this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming and Ms. Goodman's making our record. All right, we're going to take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Alicia Walker is my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Joel Jackson on behalf of the mother, Desiree Ames. I'm present. Your Honor, she's present in my office. She is not going to be at this hearing or not going to attend this hearing. She has signed off on a voluntary relinquishment this morning.
Okay. All right, sir. Okay, Ms. Zavala, if you announced you were muted, sorry.
No, sorry. Stacy Zavala for Whitney.
Okay, then, Ms. Walker, obviously the relinquishment is new. What else is new?
So Whitney has been taken to the psych hospital on 2 separate occasions last month due to suicidal ideations. And she had one runaway incident last month as well. And she was found by the police the same day that she ran. 2 other girls from her placement ran, so she just wanted to follow what they did. And we had a meeting with her, explaining how dangerous that is. She lives in Houston. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what you're doing. That's not safe. And she ended up graduating from the 6th grade yesterday. They had like a ceremony for her. She got all dressed up and everything. So that was good, but she's going to end up having to do summer school because she failed some of her classes. But other than that, she's been doing a lot better these past couple of weeks. And then I did end up getting a hold of Trenton on Facebook, and he gave me his phone number. So I called him and I explained to him everything that's going on. And he said that he was willing to help with whatever he can with Whitney, but he doesn't know how that's going to work. He said he doesn't have a car. He doesn't have a driver's license. He is currently on probation for assault. And he said, I let him know that the court hearing was today. And when it was originally at 9 o'clock, he said that he had to meet with his probation officer this morning, today at 9:30. And then when the hearing got moved to 8:45, I called him yesterday, let him know that the hearing got moved to 8:45. So he'd probably be able to make it. But then he said he meets with his probation officer today at 9. So he wasn't going to be able to make it. And they're wanting him to go to rehab. So he doesn't know if he's going to be able to help with Whitney due to all of that. And I tried to get his address to find out where he lives. And he wouldn't tell me because he said that he might be going to rehab. So he wanted to just call me after he met with his probation officer to see if he's going to rehab.
Okay, we'll see what happens. That might be an ISF situation. So, okay. Well, then, Mr. Jackson, anything else to report?
Your Honor, I don't have anything to report. I just had a question from Ms. Walker. Ms. Walker, you had reported that Trenton is on probation for assault. And just to be clear, that was the assault of Desiree Ames. Is that correct?
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe so.
Okay. I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, I got to Zoom with Whitney yesterday after her graduation. She looked beautiful, was excited, seemed in good spirits. I am afraid that the relinquishment may be a blow to her, as she was requesting to see if she could have visits with mom. She really wants to have visits with dad as well. She did mention somebody she would like to have considered for placement, but she doesn't have a whole lot of information on her. I'm hoping that maybe we can grab mom and find out if mom has anything before we might lose her after today. Her name is Chelsea. She describes her as 30 to 40, no kids, not married, and maybe in the Austin area as a family friend. She calls her Aunt Chelsea, but it does not sound like she's actually a biological relative. So maybe Mr. Jackson could see if he could get any information from mom on who that person may be, unless Alicia, you're aware of that person. But she did seem in good spirits. I would, she's struggled over the last little bit. So I would ask that we make sure she has a specific therapy appointment to talk about the relinquishment. I think that's going to be hard.
Okay, I agree. That needs to be handled with the therapist. Okay, Mr. Jackson, you think if she's still there in your office, you think you could try to
Yes,
talk?
ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am. In
okay,
fact, if the court locks at the end of this hearing, if you want to put Ms. Zavala and I in a breakout room, I'll get my client. And she can talk to her. I don't know if that'll work with the court schedule.
I don't think we've got time for that today, but any information she has, if she could give to you or Alicia, and that would work for Chelsea.
Okay, I'll send you a text, Stacy.
Well, and Joel, if you want to get in the room with Alicia,
Yeah,
mom wants to give them information to Alicia if you can.
That'll be fine.
okay. I can put you and Ms. Walker in a breakout room. I gotta move ahead with my docket.
Yes,
But-
ma'am.
And I can certainly put you all in there, so I'll set it up for you.
Okay.
And then you can go ahead and get her, Joel, and y'all can talk about it privately.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, you bet. All right, so today I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I'll continue the child's placement. I will make a finding that there's a continuing danger to return the child home at this point in time. That the department has used and should continue to use reasonable efforts to reunify the family. Obviously, that relinquishment hadn't been delivered to the department yet, but we'll take that up at a later date.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Family plan, Your Honor.
the family plans of service will become an order of the court. Although since mom is relinquished, that's kind of a moot issue, but
Yes, ma'am.
this is a status hearing, so, and since that hasn't been tendered yet, we'll go ahead and do that today. So we'll order the service plans as an order of the court. Okay, our next review hearing will be the initial permanency hearing, and that's scheduled for October 1st of 2024, and that'll be on the 9 o'clock docket. All right, thank you all so much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson,
Thank you,
you guys, I guess you guys can go. You can go back to room 1, Mr. Jackson, and I'll put Ms. Walker in there.
Okay, I'll do that right now, and I'm going to step out and get my client, Ms. Walker.
Okay, and then y'all can just leave from the breakout room. We're here
Thank you.
today for a status hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming, and Ms. Goodman is making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Nerty and Grani is my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Julie Du Bois. My client is present via phone with Miss Angrani, and we're ready to proceed.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Caleb and Kaylin.
Okay, and I don't have Ms. Lucero on behalf of Mr. Thornburg, and he is not logged in either. All right, then if we could get an update from Ms. Angrani and
Yes, for Julie Dubois, family plan signed on May 10. She's agreed with the family plan. Ms. Dubois is willing to work on services, referred on some services, but have not started anything at the moment. For the parenting class, I refer her to Padre, and apparently she's not qualified for that parenting class due to having a child older than 6 years old. So I would have to refer to another parenting class. With Kaylin and Caleb, finally they can meet in person for 2 hours per week. It's on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday. They have met on the 18th and the 25th. So the GRO and the RTC were the one who's arranging the visits and supervising them. As far as Keith Thunberg, I met with Keith Thunberg in Randall County Jail in early May. But yesterday when I called, he's been moved to another facility, I think federal facility. They did not tell me where, but he agreed to the plan and family plan signed on May 15, 2024. As far as the kids, they are in group, individual therapy and group therapy. Okay, that's all I have, Judge.
Okay, and does mom have any virtual contact with them right now? Or are we working towards that with the therapist?
Yes, we had a meeting with the mom in the beginning of May, and they were do a virtual visit. Kaylin wanted to speak with mom, but Caleb was, at the beginning, he wanted to speak with mom, but then he left. So kind of like hesitant to meet with mom at this time.
But is Kaylin talking with mom? And
Yes, she even called mom on Mother's Day.
okay. All right. Well, we just keep working on that.
Yes.
Okay, Miss Sapien?
Thank you, Judge. I'm just going to piggyback off what we were just talking about. The last I heard, the children did not really want contact with Miss Du Bois, and she voiced to me she understood that. But when they are ready for contact, she's happy to start family therapy with them. She thinks that would be a good idea and very helpful to them. So she's open to that whenever the children are ready. And I don't have anything else.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Zavala.
In general, Kaylin and Caleb seem to be doing well in placement. I was thrilled those in-person visits got started and they seem to be going well. Kaylin really wants to be placed with a family friend whose name is Megan McLean. And I know at some point Caleb expressed that that's not what he wanted. And I think that's because both children started with the idea of we want to be with sister Tristan. And so I've explained that that's not an option right now, that potentially in the future, maybe, but that's not something we can really address right now. And so once I was able to talk with Caleb about that, he was fine with being moved with Megan. Now, from what I understand, Megan is already a foster placement for some other kids. And I think that maybe there's some concern about behavior, maybe specifically with Caleb. I just talked with him in general about because of licensing issues and other kids in the home that any kids that would be moved into Megan's home would need to follow the rules. And do you feel like you'd be able to do that? He did say yes. I don't know at this point whether Miss McLean is comfortable moving forward with a home study. But Kaylin's kind of very, very excited about that possibility, and Caleb's on board at this point. And so if that is a possibility, I would love to explore it sooner rather than later, and see if that might be a real possibility. I do need to go back and talk with Kaylin because at the time I misunderstood and I thought the home study had already been done on Megan. So I need to just give her some clarifying information on timelines for that. But would love to see that done. And I believe that is it in terms of the kids.
Okay. All right, Mr. Barfield, I've admitted to you, I wanted to make sure you weren't filling in for Ms. Lucero. You're muted.
Sorry, I'm on Rico Martinez.
Okay, and it's
Do we
set
know
at 9:45.
9:45? Okay. okay. And then of course we got Craddock this afternoon. So I think that's what I have. So I'm just going to log back on because I've got a plea at 10:30 in the 320th. So I can just I can keep my phone on, stay in the waiting room in case you're running early. I don't care. Whatever you want me to do.
It doesn't matter, but you're set at 9:45, so I can put you back in the waiting room for now.
Let's just do that, and I'll be back on at 9:45. Whatever happens.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Thanks. All right, Ms. Zavala, thank you. So we just need to get some information on her to the department and take a look at that, reach out, make contact, see if she's interested or willing, to be considered for placement.
I do think that Energy's been in communication with her.
Sorry, I've been in communication with Megan. She is wanting, if Kaylin wanted to be moved there, she's willing to take Kaylin. But Caleb, since he has a behavior issue, she's kind of worried that Caleb will not be a good fit in her home since there's other kids.
Well, me and my lawyer spoke, and we were just gonna let Kaylin come first, and then maybe bring Caleb back if it was something that was still in consideration later. But he likes to be where he's at. Apparently.
Yeah, 1 second.
He wants to go to the therapy, right?
Yes, and Caleb likes to be in RTC, and he said he would like to stay there for a while. But Kaylin really wanted to be living with Megan.
And I think that'd be better for transition with her and the other kids. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're having a hard time understanding her.
Yes.
Your Honor, I can tell you what she's trying to say.
Okay.
When we met, my client is also in agreement with Kaylin going to Megan. However, she had concerns also about Caleb's behavior, and felt that he was doing well in his current placement. So if Caleb's happy there, my client is happy as long as the kids are happy, and she thinks Caleb is doing well in his current placement with his behaviors.
And from my perspective, I would be fine with moving forward with moving Caleb first and then moving Caleb later once everybody's okay with that. So if Megan's on board with taking Kaylin, I would love to see us move forward with that.
Okay. I don't have any problem with any of that. So let's get whatever initiated that we need to do and take a look at it. Okay, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the children's current placements. We can certainly look at this as an alternative placement initially for Kaylin, and then maybe possibly down the road for Caleb. Going to order the service plans as an order of court. Finding would be a continuing danger to return the children home at this time. And obviously, the department will continue to use reasonable efforts to reunify the family. Let's just basically say we're going to order a home study on. Okay, and Megan, we'll see everybody back for our initial permanency hearing on October 1st of 2024. And that'll be a 9 o'clock docket.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, thank you. We are
Thank
here
you,
today
Judge.
for our status hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming, and Ms. Goodman is making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Shade Grant is our permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Rodriguez? I'm in court right now for
TD Hammonds for the mom, Adriana Ortega. I've not been able to get a hold of her lately, Judge, so if she joins us, hallelujah.
I'll let you know.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Johnny Rodriguez. My client is present. We're ready to proceed.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Johnny.
Okay. What do we have news? What was filed?
Judge, I've been able to meet with both parents. Family plans have been signed and filed. My last communication with Miss Ortega was last week. She did miss 2 of her visits That was yesterday, so I haven't been able to talk to her. I don't know what's going on with her, but she did agree to work services, as did Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez also submitted to paternity testing on May 30th, so those results are pending. Johnny is doing well in placement. He's got all his medical needs taken care of. He did really well in school, so everything's going good.
Okay, and Mr. Rodriguez appears to me to be appearing from the hospital. Are you aware, Ms. Grant, that he was in the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Okay, Mr. Hennings? All right, Mr. Hammonds?
Judge, I have no questions. Miss Grant, would you just send me the most recent phone number you have for Adriana? I have 3 of them. A couple of them, I guess, have been disconnected.
Yes.
That's all I have, Judge.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Seki?
Thank you, Judge. Like Ms. Grant said, my client did agree to work services. I'm glad he has submitted to the paternity test, and I do not have any other updates. Mr. Rodriguez, is there anything that you need the court to know today? You're on mute, Johnny.
Yeah, I muted him because of the background noise.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if I can get my son closer to home, if not in a placement home with my family, or just closer to home. He's 8 hours away, 10 hours away. If there's any way I can get him closer to home, that'd be something that I would like to look into. That'll help me out with what I'm going through right now with my medical conditions, and I mean, just to have him closer to home is what I'm really trying to ask for.
Mr. Rodriguez, have you provided any names of close relatives in the area to Ms. Grant?
Yes, my mom, Araceli Alvarez, she says she's willing to placement there at her home. And I'll be willing to make any kind of arrangements necessary to get my son brought back home closer with family and with family,
Okay.
Let me just clarify, Mr. Rodriguez, what do you consider home?
Well, it'd be nice to get him with my mom. My mom has a home that he's able to go and be there. I will be making arrangements for myself because I'm currently living with her, but I have an army full of people ready to be on my back, to have my back with this. But a home would be consisting of my mom's house. That's a good, safe home for him to be in.
But where does she live?
In Amarillo, Texas.
Okay, all right.
And I just want to make sure I understood you correctly, Mr. Rodriguez. If your son was allowed to be with your mother, you would make plans to live elsewhere?
Yes. Okay. Since I wouldn't be allowed to be in the same household as him until I complete the plan that was already brought before me.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so if we can get that information to Ms. Grant, she can take a look at that and see if we think we can do a successful home study on his mother.
And Judge, not saying that he's not, but just since we're waiting on paternity testing, can we wait till that comes back and then make that move if that happens?
Yeah, we would obviously wait until we had the results of that back before we.
Now, Judge, I got a question. If the tests come back where I'm not his father, could I still be adjudicated as his father?
No, not if genetic testing shows that you are excluded as the father of the child. You couldn't just be adjudicated as his dad. No.
Okay.
You can talk to your lawyer about that, and she can explain to you, what position that would leave you in, and what other avenues there might be.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I got one question for Ms. Grant real quick, Your Honor. Shay, you said you haven't heard from mom since last week, is that correct?
Yes.
And you said she's missed 2 visits?
Yes.
Have they been consecutive visits, or are they?
So she missed, her visits are on Mondays. So she missed Memorial Day because our office was closed. And then before that, the Monday before that, the placement had power outage. And so she missed that visit. I scheduled her last Friday, the 31st, to make up those 2 visits, and she didn't attend. And then her visit yesterday, she also missed.
Okay, so she missed 2 visits due to no fault of her own, but then she missed the 2 makeups.
Yes.
Okay. And you haven't had contact, have you asked her to drug screen yet?
I have, and she hasn't gone.
Okay, Judge, we'd ask to get the drug screens ordered for mom today. You want hair follicle and UA, Shay?
Yes.
Judge, if we could have a hair and UA on mom.
Okay, Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, I've got no concerns about his current placement. I do believe he's doing well there. However, if we can find a placement closer, I do think that would be in his best interest. Johnny is 5 and he's autistic. I was able to Zoom with him, but it was more like just being able to see him physically. There wasn't a whole lot of interaction. I got a great report from placement, and it does seem like in person, of course, would be a much easier connection. So again, I've got no concerns about him in this placement. I think he's adjusted well there. I think they're taking good care of him, but would love to explore any closer options. I think that helps with all of the visitation.
All right, so today, and then we'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the child's current placement. Find a continuing danger to return the child home at this time. We'll order the service plans as an order of the court, and we'll order her mom to do a hair and UA today or as soon as she can be located and contacted. Find the departments using reasonable efforts to reunify the family. And once the genetic testing is back, then we will consider doing the home study on Mr. Rodriguez's mother. Just, depending on the outcome of those tests. So, okay, we will have our initial permanency hearing on October 1st. And that will be in the 9 o'clock docket. Okay, thank you all. We're here on a review
All right,
thank
today.
you.
We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're also live streaming, and Ms. Goodman is making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Marissa Herrera is my primacy specialist. We're present ready.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of Mom, Miss Casada, my client is present and we are ready to proceed.
Jay Michelson on behalf of Jesse, and he is incarcerated at Plainview, and I'm ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Jazarian.
Okay. Ms. Herrera, what do we have new since your court report was filed?
Mr. Casey is still incarcerated in Plainview. I do have a scheduled phone call with him on Thursday, but I have not received any parenting packets or any letters from him. Miss Quizada has been doing really well. She's completed all of her services except for her domestic violence, but she is engaged. She reports that she's done about 8 or 9 out of the 10. Jazarian's doing really well. He's in a kinship home in Muleshoe. They get 4 hours of visitation a week with the mom, supervised by kinship at this time. And the only reason St. Francis is a little hesitant about reunification is Miss Quezada does have some criminal charges she's working on. She had a court hearing March 28th, and they were offering her 15 months in prison. And so we just don't want to place him back with her if she's about to be incarcerated and disrupt his stability that he has right now. And then also the home that she's living in is her father's, and the patio is a little bit shaky and not very safe for Jazarian. And so we've addressed that with her, and they're going to work on that patio.
Well, we've got a little more time left. Ms. Quezada, I mean, it sounds like, you're doing very, very well. Just keep doing what you're doing and address the issues that need to be addressed. Our final is coming up in this case. It's set for August 1st of 2024, and that's on a 9 o'clock docket, and that's got to go to trial because our dismissal date is on August 9th. So just know that that's your window of time to get these things done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, Ms. Sapien?
Thank you, Judge. I am working closely with Ms. Casada's criminal defense attorney, Mr. Brian Johnston, and we are trying to get these criminal charges resolved as soon as possible in order to get Jazarian back home to Ms. Casada. But I am proud of the work that she has done since she's been out of jail. She's made a complete 180 and she's doing very well.
Okay. All right. Okay, Mr. Michelson.
Thank you. Nothing to contribute. He remains in custody. He will not be released until approximately October of next year. And I think that's all I have to offer.
All right, thank you, Mr. Michelson.
Judge, can we go ahead and get a mediation order just so we can try to figure this one out?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, Jazarian's placed in a family placement. I have previously been able to visit with him in that home. He's doing well. I'm excited to see how much progress Mom has made. I do think a mediation would be helpful because we might be able to come up with a solution that works for everybody. But I do think that placement should continue at this time.
All right, then for today, I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator. I will continue placement for the child and find there would be a continuing danger to return the child home today, although it sounds like we're very much headed in the right direction with Mom. And I will order you all to mediation. And okay, as I said, our final set for August 1st. So y'all need to try to mediate, let's say before July 20th. So we'll get someone appointed to do that.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, then. So I'll see everybody back. And again, we're up against our absolute drop dead date come August 9th. So hopefully we can get these last remaining things taken care of and resolved. All right. Thank you all very much. All right. We're here today in both cases, review hearing. And we are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming and Ms. is making our record this morning. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Christina Hunter is my permanency specialist. We are present ready.
Brooks Barfield, attorney for Tina Martinez, present and ready, and she is present.
T.D. Hammonds for the father of Sky, or alleged father of Sky and Elizabeth. Joe Rico, he is presently in the Potter County Jail, Judge. I think we had also talked to the state about paternity testing, and we'll be asking for that today.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Stacy. Go ahead.
I missed you, Lorraine. Sorry. Stacy Zabala on behalf of the kids.
Lorraine Lucero on behalf of the unknown father. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm looking at, let's see. We had done some genetic testing in the Rico case.
I'll ring down.
Okay, but not on Mr. Rico. Okay. Ms. Prater just logged in. Do I need her for this hearing?
No, ma'am. She's on the Welch case later.
Okay, great. All right, then. What do we have new since the court report was filed, Ms. Hunter?
So since the court report was filed, so Tina told me this morning actually that she is still currently unemployed. However, she has been applying for jobs. She said that she actually has an interview, I believe she said this afternoon, for a potential position. She is still needing to get her Social Security card. She applied for a replacement, so she's still waiting on that to come in to be able to help her to fully gain employment at that point when it does come in. Visitation has increased to 3 hours a week. Those are set up in person over in Lubbock. And she actually did graduate and walk the stage. So I'm very proud of her for that. The kids are all currently all placed together over in Lubbock. They're actually in the pair foster home. where Elizabeth has been located since the beginning of this case. They're all doing really well. Sky is actually signing a little bit more than she was previously because they're kind of pushing her a little bit, but she's definitely signing a little bit more, which is good. Sky did have her procedure on May the 30th to get her tubes and have the drainage. Mom was in attendance. There was no issues from the surgery. She's still recovering really well. She does still have quite a bit of drainage, but she does have a follow-up with the surgeon from the procedure at the end of the month. She's also supposed to be having her 2-year well child check here soon. And so foster mom and I spoke this morning, and she's also going to inquire with the PCP about how long the drainage is to continue to be expected, as well as if there needs to be a follow-up with the allergy specialist. All the services for both Cam and Sky have transferred from Amarillo to Lubbock. Sky is getting the special skills training 2 times a month, and she's also getting speech 2 times a month through ECI. And Camden's also getting speech 2 times a week as well. Other than that, everything's going pretty well as of right now.
Okay.
Oh, also, I apologize. I did submit a home study on her cousin, on Tina's cousin, India Rodriguez. I submitted that on 5/28.
Okay. Any update on Mr. Rico?
No, ma'am. I haven't seen him yet, so I plan on going out to see him possibly today.
All right. Is he back in custody?
I'm assuming he's still in Potter County.
Okay.
He is, Judge.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. Mr. Barfield?
Your Honor, I don't have really anything to report other than I think Tina's making progress given her circumstances. I think she's doing extraordinarily well, and so I don't have anything at this particular time. Visits seem to be going good, so I think we just need to. Home study's been submitted. I think we just need to continue to move forward.
Okay, and Mr. Barfield, since you're in San Francisco, let's just be aware that there are a lot of fires going on up there.
I understand it's very smoky here.
Okay, Mr. Hammonds.
Judge, I spoke to Joe Rico yesterday just for the court's information. George Harwood represents Mr. Rico on the criminal matter, ag assault with a deadly weapon. That accusation, I believe the plea negotiations at this point have reached an impasse. I do not see Mr. Rico bonding out. So when that will be resolved, depends on the court's trial docket within the next, say, 3 to 4 months.
Right.
But he does want paternity testing performed.
Okay, we'll get that set up. So, Mr. Trax, y'all get me in order and we'll get it going.
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Lucero, any information?
Your Honor, I don't have any information. I would just request that if the mother, has any names for any potential fathers for Camden, she relay that information to her attorney or to Ms. Hunter and get that information to me. I'd appreciate it, but that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, the kids are doing really well in this new placement altogether. I feel like that was a good move, and that there's lots of good progress going on. I'm of course open to family and any other home studies that we need to do. And I do recommend that continue at this point.
Okay. All right, then at this time, I'll order the genetic testing between Joe Rico and both of the Rico children. Continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I will continue the children's current placements. Find there would be a continuing danger to return the children home today, and that the department is using reasonable efforts to reunify the family. Let's order this home study on India Rodriguez. And our final is set for July 30th of 2024. That's on a 9 o'clock docket. So I will see everybody back then.
Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
I apologize for interrupting. There were a few things that I was asking to be ordered today. I was asking that Tina be ordered to complete additional parenting classes as well as continue with therapy as well. And that I was asking that you order that she provide a copy of her lease to me.
All right, so you're wanting additional parenting, a copy of the lease, and what else?
And continue with therapy.
Okay. All right, so she completed her additional set of, or her initial set of counseling, correct?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Was she released by the counselor?
So the counselor actually offered her to continue with therapy by just going directly with her Medicaid. So she suggested that it would be in her best interest, but Tina declined it. She said that she would reach out to Lowe's if she felt like she needed to continue with her.
Okay, and what's the basis for did she successfully complete parenting for us?
She did complete the parenting classes initially. However, as the case has continued, I've noticed that Tina needs some additional knowledge, such as like holding boundaries, setting boundaries with her children, as well as like learning what a nutritional diet is, as well as learning more about child development. Type of things have continued to show that she needs some additional education in.
Let me ask this question. We're running out of time. Can we do all of that through one provider, through a counselor? Do we think we can accomplish all that with one person?
I'm sure I could probably, if it is agreed that she does continue to work with Delois, I'm sure Delois probably would. If she wouldn't, I can definitely see if I can find some individual classes, or I can provide her with some educational material that I can be able to go over with her.
Because I mean, we've got less than 60 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Initial date. So
I wouldn't believe that Miss Hinders would have an issue with it. She's pretty well versed in, Tina's case.
So, Mr. Barfield, your client, would she be willing to do that as long as we can do those things through one provider?
Well, I guess so. I mean, my concern, quite frankly, is this late in the game. She's completed her services. She needs to find steady employment. She needs to have time to work. She needs to work on getting housing. I don't want to put too much on her plate. And it seems at this late moment, we're just adding stuff that she's already completed. So my concern there is I understand the department's concern, but I think at this point, we're creating more problems than we're helping.
Well,
so I mean, whether Tina wants to agree to do that on her own is certainly up to her. I just have some concerns 60 days before final hearing that we want to start adding services.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Barfield. I mean, I do think she does need to be concentrated on finding a job and the housing situation. And, I would encourage Ms. Martinez, if time permits, for her to continue with Ms. Hinders. I mean, I will put it this way, and then we can find out what she's agreeable to do. I would have St. Francis extend that to her. I would love it if she would participate in that. Although, I feel like it's a little unfair at this stage to hold that against her. If she can't make all of those sessions because she's found a job or she's, working, or, I agree with Mr. Barfield. It's kind of late. So, Ms. Martinez, what's your feeling about that?
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem going to counseling, but I've already did it. I finished everything and that y'all have asked me to do. I finished everything. There's nothing more for me to do. And then I do have an interview in the afternoon, but I'm going to ask them if I can get Thursdays off so I can go see my kids, because I'll be in Lubbock that whole Thursday till 3. And I'll leave at 8 in the morning till 3. But if I had counseling, and then I would have to ask for another day off at work. And then so it's just me. That's why at the beginning I couldn't work, because all the classes that I was taking, nobody would work with my schedule. So if I take more counseling, I'm gonna have to ask for more days off when y'all want me to get a job for my kids.
Real catch-22.
Your Honor, if Miss Hinders would be willing to work with her on Thursdays after she comes back from Lubbock, would that be feasible?
My God, what? Okay, Judge, at this point, she's going to Lubbock, she's visiting her kids, then she's having to come back, go to counseling. Judge, at this point, I mean, again, a person can only do so much. So, I mean, it to me, we're just absolutely overburdening my client who has done everything she's been asked to do. The lease is no problem. We can get a lease. But at this point, we got to give her time to get her life straight.
Okay, here's how I'm gonna address this. I'm not gonna mandate that she do it. If she has time in her schedule and wants to utilize Ms. Hender's services to sort of reinforce and enhance maybe what she's already done. You know, to enhance what, you know, she's already learned and done, great, but I'm not going to mandate it and I'm not going to hold it against her if she can't make that. I would much rather see her have a job at this point, quite frankly. So if it's a voluntary thing, fine, but I just can't see piling that on right now. Well, we've still got some other things that really need to fall into place.
And to be clear, my position is exactly what the court said. Tina, if Tina can fit it in and obviously she wants to do everything to help the case, then great. But I appreciate the court's ruling at that point.
I mean, folks, I get it. I understand the case could go into extension, but you know, that's not what extensions are really designed for. We've got a parent who has completed services. It's time that we either start working towards that reunification. You know, I mean, we need to use the time that we have left to see if we can achieve what we need to achieve within the 12 months. You know, I mean, we just, you know, everybody can read the code. Everybody knows what it says about extensions. So I think we need to let her concentrate on employment and housing if that's still an issue. So I'm not going to order it. If she has time in her schedule that she can do some additional with Deloitte, great. We'll pay for it. Okay. All right. I've made my ruling on everything else. So I'll see everybody back for our final on July 30th of 2024. And that'll be on 9 o'clock here today. In both cases on review hearing, as agreed by everyone as opposed to proceeding to the final. And I've already entertained the request for the extension in the case. So we are conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming and I'm recording to the Zoom cloud. So if anybody needs a copy, let me know and we'll make it available. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Christina Hunter is my primacy specialist. We're present ready.
Brianna Gomez, substituting for Brooks Barfield today on behalf of and representing Tina Martinez.
T.D. Hammonds representing Joe Rico, father of Sky and Elizabeth. I'm ready, Judge. He's presently in the Potter County Jail still. I'll explain a little bit about that later.
Natalie Archer subbing for Stacy Zavala today on behalf of the children.
And Maureen Lucero, representing the unknown father. I'm ready.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Hunter, what do we have new since the court report was filed?
Since the court report was filed, I did go see Joe yesterday and spoke to him in regards to his current criminal proceedings. He stated that he has court coming up this Thursday. He's still not certain as to a potential release, but he is hoping that things will go in his favor on Thursday. But it's to be determined at this point. I went and visited Miss Martinez yesterday as well, just to kind of check in again to see kind of where things were at on her side. She says that she has looked into daycare as well as the school. However, she wasn't able to provide additional details to me in regards to cost of daycare, those kinds of things of that magnitude. And she's also currently still does not have cribs and car seats for her kids, but she said she did order them. And they're supposed to be potentially delivered today.
Okay. All right. I am looking. signed an order for genetic testing.
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor, there was, we had ordered genetic testing after the last hearing. Joe Rico had signed an AOP on one of the children, had not on the other. So one of the paternity testing's gone through, or order went through. The other one, we had to redo that order due to the AOP. So it looks, I think you signed that on the 10th. So hopefully we'll be getting that all done fairly soon.
Which one had he signed on?
It was Sky.
Yeah, he signed an AOP on Sky. So we redid the order for Sky.
Okay.
Miss Martinez did tell me yesterday that she does not believe that Joe is the father of Elizabeth, but she refused to provide a name of the child's father as well.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm getting confused somewhere. Signed an AOP in Scott, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why are we now doing genetic testing on that child and not on the other child?
We are on the other child also, Your Honor.
Okay.
When we sent them in, there was an AOP on one child, but not on the other. So we had to redo the one for Sky.
Well, is he challenging that now? I mean, or what? Or is mother challenging it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, he is, Judge. All I can tell you is he's now having second thoughts since apparently Miss Martinez has made some comments, you know, of course, that Elizabeth is not his child. So that causes him to have the same doubts regarding Sky.
Okay, so we're going to do genetic testing on both children.
Correct, Your Honor.
He did confirm with me yesterday that his swabs have already been obtained as well. And the children have already been taken as well. So we're just waiting on the results.
Okay. All right. Good enough. All right, anything else, Ms. Hunter?
Not as of the moment, no, ma'am.
I got a few questions for Ms. Hunter, Your Honor.
Sure, go right ahead.
Ms. Hunter, in the report, Department or St. Francis is asking for mom to do a few additional things. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what are those things you're wanting?
The same things I requested last hearing, which is additional parenting and additional therapy as well.
Okay. And can you go into some detail on why we are asking for those?
I'm requesting additional parenting because there still continues to be issues during her visitation in regards to being able to manage to meet all of the needs of her children consecutively. There's been continuous issues with feeding in regards to Elizabeth, feeding her inappropriate things that are not age appropriate for her oral development. I've provided information in regards to things that would be appropriate. And then it's also turned into where she's actually underfed Elizabeth as well in one of her visits. And so I think that her additional education may be beneficial to her in regards to like child development, setting boundaries, how to follow through on the boundaries, as well as nutritional.
Okay. Have you discussed, I know you said you sent mom some information. Have you discussed with mom what she learned during parenting classes, and is she trying to use any of what she learned during her visits?
Whenever I had the conversation with mom in regards to what she had learned from her parenting classes, she stated, "You do have any idea how long ago that was? I learned about the shaken baby and that babies have soft spots." And that was all she was able to provide me information that she had learned.
Do you believe that additional how many parenting classes are you requesting?
To be quite honest, I'm requesting that the options be open, just based upon the need of what we see in mom's visitation. I want to ensure that she has as much knowledge to be able to ensure that stability and consistency remains for the kids prolonged, because her kids are all in different developments. So what Camden, the 4-year-old, would need is different than what Elizabeth, the 1-year-old, would need.
Are you aware, is there any way during, with the parenting classes and the people that teach the parenting classes, is there any way to cater those classes specifically to what you think mom needs at this time? So if it's nutritional, are there set nutritional classes that we could put mom in so that she can learn more about that?
plan was, if the court approves both the therapy as well as the parenting classes, was to try to have her therapist work individually one-on-one with her in those specific areas. So that way she's able to not just continue to be able to get the mental health side met, but as well as the parenting side. So it's not having to require more than an hour of her time bi-weekly or 2-weekly.
Okay. Have you spoken to the therapist on this?
I've spoken to Ms. Hinders in regards to whether she would be willing to continue to work with Ms. Martinez. She said that she would. She felt like that maybe the relationship wouldn't be as beneficial as previously, but she was willing to furtherly engage with her as she did felt like Tina was needing it.
Okay. And as far as the mental health therapy side of it that you're talking about, is that due to, what are the concerns that we have for that?
Whenever Ms. Hinders provided me her notes, she had comments in there about depression, and Tina's also made comments to me about having depression. Whenever things have a tendency to not go in her exact way, she has a tendency to jump to the extremes in regards to, wonder why people have depression. And she even had mentioned at one point, whenever I talked to her about her initial goal change that we had done on the case, about not even wanting to go to her graduation, because she just was too sad to go. She did end up going to her graduation, but I feel like additional guidance to be able to help build for their better coping skills would be in her benefit.
Okay. Have you seen any changes in behavior in mom? And you meet with her, you talk to mom quite often, is that correct?
I do, yes.
She keeps good communication with you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any concerns or change in behaviors or lack of change in behaviors with mom throughout this case?
I have seen that there are concerns of lack of change of consistent behavior. Mom has been very reluctant in regards to providing information that is needed, that is required as part of her family plan of service, such as employment verification, being able to provide proof of the things that she's saying that she's wanting to do. So that way we can be able to provide those to the courts as proof that she is making those changes and making those efforts. Whenever I've gone out to the home in June, she made a big old story about where she was and what she was doing that ended up actually having to have law enforcement called out to the home. It was just, there's been a lot of issues that should not be there at this point.
Okay. So another reason for this and for requesting the therapy sessions and the parenting with the children is to, because the changes with mom, have not been as drastic as we feel needs.
Yes.
And that mom could benefit from the help.
Yes.
And so today you're asking the court to approve additional parenting or therapy, and hopefully those can be done together.
Yes.
And we can try to work through some of these issues that we're still having.
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Gomez, on behalf of Mr. Barfield and Ms. Martinez, do you have any questions or anything you want to discuss today?
You'll have to forgive me, Judge. Excuse me if this is a lack of knowledge on my part, but my understanding was that on the extension that we all had an agreement. And so I didn't obviously want to interrupt the prosecutor's line of questioning with that particular concern, but I guess what I'm asking is the information on DFPS's analysis on whether mom needs to continue necessary if we are in agreement?
And
oh, I'm so sorry. Am I out of the loop on something?
No, I don't know that it's that. I mean, I think here's, I mean, and maybe I can just kind of cut to the chase on this.
Yes,
But I mean, it was presented to me that everybody was in agreement to the extension. I think we communicated that I would be willing to find extraordinary circumstances and to put the case into an extension so that we can continue to work with Ms. Martinez on some of the issues that still exist. So in my way of thinking, we still have some work to do, and that's why we're extending the case. having read the reports and knowing what the concerns have been all along, I mean, I think it's a very good thing to have mom focus on not only her individual counseling, but the parenting with one person with the therapist. And I think it's, from what I've read, I think it's absolutely necessary. Very concerned about the kind of misrepresentations that Ms. Martinez has made to Ms. Hunter at times. There's just not really any necessity for that. If she's being honest with us and straightforward with us, I mean, there's no reason to hide things. And of course, frankly, there's never any reason to hide anything in these cases, but we all know it goes on sometimes. But Ms. Martinez, the 6-month extension is designed. I mean, I grant that only in cases where I think that, you've put in effort and you've made efforts, but we're just not there yet. I rarely grant extensions to people who've done nothing. So that isn't the situation, because, you have done worked your service plan, but we're just not at the finish line yet. We've still got some things we need to work on.
And Judge, just to be clear, I just wanted to make sure that I had not missed my opportunity to mention that we were all in agreement. I just so that I can make sure we weren't, being inefficient with our time here. But I understand completely. Ms. Hunter, I only have a couple questions for you then, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead.
As far as the parenting classes were prescribed to Ms. Martinez, did she miss any of those or an abundance of those? And if so, what for those dates?
He completed were all prior to the last hearing. The ones that she had taken were the ones that she had described of what she had learned.
She'd taken all of the ones that were requested by the department, if I'm understanding correct?
Yes, she had completed the list of classes basically that were part of an initial program, and she also engaged in parenting classes through the Padre program on occasion as well.
About how many parenting classes overall is that?
I don't know the specific number of how many she attended with Padre, but give me just a second. Let me look at my report and I can be able to tell you the ones that she did for the others. She completed 7 that I received certificates for.
7 parenting classes. Okay. My next
And I
question
can tell
is,
you the name of those if you'd like.
please, if you could list those.
Raising kids to be productive adults, talking to kids about bullying, prevention of shaken baby syndrome, positive male role models, co-parenting strategies, talking to kids about safety, and understanding child abuse.
Okay. Which one of those classes is directed most towards nutrition, if any?
Those are the ones that she completed. Though that's the reason why I'm asking for additional.
I see your point. I'm so sorry. Okay. Next, and I'll move this along pretty quickly. How many counseling sessions did Ms. Martinez miss, if you have that information?
That she missed. Give me just a second. So she initially started out with Delois in September 28th of 2023. She ended up getting discharged in December of 21st of 2023 due to several missed appointments, and she re-engaged in January in the beginning of January, and then she completed 6 sessions with her. After that, then was.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but she completed those 6 sessions, which met the initial requirement for the therapy services.
So from January until now, she's been consistent in the appointments that she's supposed to attend as far as counseling goes.
Yeah, she completed her therapy sessions in May.
I think those are all the questions that I have right now, Judge.
Okay.
Pass the witness.
All right. Mr. Hammond, anything to comment on today?
Judge, I'm hoping within the next 4 to 6 weeks, Mr. Rico will have a better idea of what his future holds. I mean, if he's given probation, of course, we've discussed contacting the department immediately, you know, doing whatever they want him to do so he can, you know, get on board as well if, you know, the paternity test comes back that he is the father. So, you know, they're just those things that are in the works, but hopefully 4 to 6 weeks will clear some of that up. So.
Okay. Yep, it's kind of a waiting game. All right, Ms. Lucero?
Yeah, I just had one question for Ms. Hunter.
Sure.
Okay. Ms. Hunter, during your time speaking with Ms. Martinez, has she mentioned any other potential fathers for Camden?
No, ma'am. Mr. Rico, when I spoke with him, he said that the only other person that he ever heard of was a gentleman that went by the name Prince, but he wasn't able to provide me any information after that. And Ms. Martinez hasn't provided me anybody as well.
Okay. Did you discuss that name that Mr. Rico gave you with Ms. Martinez? Did you follow up with her about that?
I haven't spoken to her about the gentleman called Prince. However, whenever the paternity test came back that Mr. Daniels was not the father, I asked her if she had any idea who it was, and she chuckled and said, nope.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay.
I have one more quick question for Ms. Hunter, Your Honor.
Sure.
Ms. Hunter, are there any possible changes that are coming up as far as visitation with school starting?
Yes, sir. So Camden is expected to start school in mid-August. And so as of right now, we are currently doing visitation for 3 hours on every Thursday. With Camden starting school full time, that unfortunately won't be possible for him to be able to attend all those 3 hours. So the time with him is going to be limited just due to that fact. The girls, their visitation should be able to still hopefully remain the same, but it may end up having to adjust due to school schedules and just time for the kids. I'm hoping that Camden will still be able to attend at least a minimally an hour a week.
Okay. And once that happens, once we kind of find out the schedule, that'll be discussed in further with Ms. Martinez and her counsel.
Yes, I'll make all parties aware.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Archer.
Ms. Hunter, you said you had some concerns about daycare. What were those?
Whenever I spoke with Ms. Martinez, both at the beginning of the month as well as yesterday, I had asked her if she had gotten daycare figured out, as well as school, those types of things, the general practices for whenever you're expecting your kids to come back home. She hadn't thought about daycare or the school. She didn't know what grade Camden was going to be in whenever I spoke with her at the beginning of the month. So I instructed her to be able to, you know, start to get those things lined out and figured out. I spoke with her in regards to CCMS as well, because daycare is a large expense. Whenever I followed up with her yesterday about these things, she told me that she had selected a daycare that's on the total opposite end of town from where she's located. I asked her in regards if she had figured out what the cost was. She said that she had. I asked her if she could tell me. She couldn't tell me, but I did speak to her again about CCMS. She mentioned that she was just going to be paying out of pocket for it, which in my head, it doesn't make sense because I can't even afford daycare with what I do for a living. So it's just concerning that there's still a bit of unrealistic expectations in regards to what she's going to be experiencing in regards to daycare and school and time requirements and all those types of things whenever her kids possibly get returned to her.
Does she have a driver's license at this time?
No.
Okay. Is the department concerned about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Does she have any plan to get one that you know of?
I've been encouraging her for a little over 6 months now to get her driver's license. When I spoke with her about that at the beginning of the month as well, she said that she was waiting on a callback from the DMV. I told her that's generally not how it works, that you have to go up to the DMV and you have to speak with them and stay on them to be able to figure out what is needed to be able to get that. I mentioned to her that there was a possibility that maybe her ticket that she received for driving without a license might hold that up in some way, but she needed to get with the DMV to get that all clarified and figured out.
Okay, I think it's actually the Department of Public Safety, DPS is where she has to go. I just don't want there to be.
Oh, my apologies.
I just don't want her to have some confusion about it. I know what you're talking about, but I want to be sure. It's the Department of Public Safety that issues driver's licenses and those tests and all that. So has she ever had a valid driver's license?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, so we're not in a situation where she's got surcharges or something like that.
My other concern, as far as the baby nutrition and feeding the baby goes, is there anything like during visitation where a worker, some kind of facilitator could be present to teach during visitation to make it more like a visitation/therapy? Does that exist?
We do have a family support worker that is present during the visitation. However, they try to be as hands-off as possible unless it becomes a matter of safety. At this point, it would be kind of expected that mom should be able to know how to feed her children, as considering she has had 2 other ones on top of that. But I've spoken with mom again about appropriate things to feed her. Foster mom has sent food that's appropriate for her. It's just she's chosen not to utilize those things that had been available.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter. I'll pass the witness.
Okay, anybody have anything further?
No further questions, Your Honor. Just like to reiterate what we're asking for, to have some additional parenting and therapies with mom.
Right, okay, Ms. Martinez obviously wants to address some things, so I'm gonna give her a chance.
When Christina provided me what to feed the baby, and this list that she gave me, I take the baby eggs and the stuff that she provides me. But the caseworker that I do go with, that helps me with the kids and this and that, she tells me I could feed everything's fine, and I could feed the baby what I feed the other kids, and I feed the kids.
Hold on, Ms. Martinez, who's there with you?
Oh, my uncle.
Okay, then he doesn't get to talk and participate in this.
Last time it was. Okay, there's no see nothing. And then now when I go to my visits, the diaper bag, I can take a diaper bag because I got to carry a diaper bag. But this lady that's working with me in Lubbock wants me to take pots and pans and like my whole kitchen. She said that I need to start cooking over there when I'm bringing even when I'm bringing the food to Lubbock, the food that I make them for breakfast is warm, and then the stuff, it gets old and nasty. And then not only that, we were usually going out to out in public because they literally keep us in a room with maybe 4 toys, and then half of the time their transportation don't even come, and so my uncle has to take me, and then they tell me at the last minute that they can't take me, and then my uncle has to call off of work, and he gets in his boss tells him that he needs to make what is it called, tell his boss when he's gonna call off, but we don't even know when they're gonna take me to Lubbock or when they're not gonna take me to Lubbock or nothing.
Okay, so we'll address this, but Ms. Martinez, do you have plans to try to get your driver's license? That would solve a lot of this.
Yes.
Yes, you do have plans to get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Then, Ms. Hunter, are you aware of there's been some issue or problem about transportation to visits?
Yes, Your Honor. So what has happened is we do put in a weekly request for Ms. Martinez to be able to get transported from Amarillo to Lubbock and back for her visitation. However, I'm sure you're aware when it comes to our transportation, it's based upon a hierarchy of need. There are some times that unfortunately, we don't even get notified on our end until sometimes the day before that visitation has, she's not able to get transported to her visitation because we have to transport kids from placement to placement, those kinds of things instead. I have spoken with Martinez multiple times about it, and I told her, it's part of that responsibility that you have to make sure that you have a plan B because our transportation is not guaranteed. And she's known this for months.
Okay. So, and that's, that's always been my understanding too, Ms. Martinez. We do our best to help parents out with that, but sometimes we have to have these folks, say go to Houston to pick up a child to then deliver a child, to the Dallas area or something. And so obviously those children's needs come before, providing you transportation. This all comes back to why we're extending the case, because I have concerns that you're just not ready yet for the kids to be home. I mean, you need a driver's license. You need to be able to legally drive your children. you need to be able to provide that on your own, because once we're out, we're out. And you know, you're not going to have the help of St. Francis or the department to make these things happen. I mean, to get your kids to the doctor, to make sure you're getting kids to daycare or school. So, you know, as of today, you got 6 months to get all this stuff done and kind of get it all together. But, you know, St. Francis will continue to do their best to help you out because the children are placed in Lubbock. But, you know, we just can't guarantee that that's going to be available every single time.
And we can't start trying to move the kids to Amarillo.
If I may, Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. Gomez.
Ms. Martinez, give me a second here.
Okay.
I got a couple notes from Mr. Barfield before entering this hearing, and one of the things, this is a good transition he wanted me to bring up, was the potential for placement closer to Amarillo. And what it's sounding like is there's a lot of tension around the driving, the transportation, and at least from my perspective, if the goal is to sort of streamline this in the next 6 months and make sure that my client is exactly where she needs to be, you know, in your guys, in this court's opinion, then potentially that may be something that we could look into. And again, that's, or just at least start the conversation on the children being placed closer if possible.
I think that, I mean, generally speaking, I mean, we always try to keep children, you know, at home if we can. It's just it's a lack of placements. And I'm sure that's why the children ended up in placement in Lubbock in the first place, unless they were with a relative. And I don't think that's the case. They were in a foster home, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. They were actually separated. The two older ones were in a foster home here in Amarillo,
Right.
and then the youngest one was placed in Lubbock in a foster home, but they are all currently, all three together in the same foster home in Lubbock. We did try to locate a relative placement here that Ms. Martinez had provided in order to try to get them moved here and to be with a relative. We ordered the home study. Unfortunately, the home study was not able to be completed due to Ms. Rodriguez not being responsive after we initially started it. So we ended up having to just cease it. I've asked Ms. Martinez if there was any other relatives that I could look at or anybody that we could look at locally to potentially place the kids with, and she's not provided anybody else either.
And you know, Ms. Martinez, it's difficult to place sibling groups. You know, I mean, it's difficult to place children at all, but when you're talking about placing more than one and sometimes two children, it just, I mean, the more children we have in a sibling group, the more difficult it is to get them placed together. And of course, you know, we put a great deal of priority on keeping the children together because we want them to maintain that sibling bond. So, you know, I don't have a problem with, you know, saying we will look at a closer placement, but you know, I think the children are in a good foster home. I mean, I know they've been working with ECI and you know, working on some of the developmental delays and things, and you know, they seem to be doing well. And so, you know, it's always a hard call to say, do we want to move those three kids out of what seems to be a good situation, just to get them closer to Amarillo? I mean, that does just to get them closer to Amarillo doesn't necessarily mean it's better. It's a better placement. You know, maybe it would be just as good, but you know, it's just with three kiddos, it's just a hard order to fill.
Yes, I understand that, but the foster kids that my son and daughter were at the beginning in Amarillo, Amber even told me she was willing to take the third baby, and they're in Amarillo. And then not only that, when I asked the foster people down in Lubbock if I can get pictures of my kids, she never wants to send them, or she sends them a whole week later. Like, I don't have no communication with them whatsoever, the foster people whatsoever down there.
Well, and you know, that's foster parents, that's their right or their call to make, whether they have direct contact with parents or not. You know, sometimes that works fine and sometimes it does not work fine. And so they have the right to determine, you know, what kind of contact there will be directly. You know, I don't have a problem asking St. Francis to start looking at getting the children placed closer to Amarillo. And you know, we can see what we might be able to come up with and then weigh, okay, is that gonna be a better situation or not? You know, but I just want you to have realistic expectations about this, that that's, you know, it's a hard deal to find for a sibling group. So we can put in the request to look and see what we might be able to find.
Yeah, Your Honor, that's all we ask.
Okay.
Judge, it looks like the last UA for mom was done back like around the 21st of June. We'd ask to go ahead and get another drug screen order today.
Okay. You want a UA?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
One,
Ms. Hunter, we'll get that request out to Care Express.
It's currently pending and ready for her. She just
Okay.
has to go.
one last small request, and it just circles back to the pictures. If it is in any way possible for the individuals keeping in contact with the foster parents to maybe recommend that they send a few more pictures. It is, in looking at the file, it has been a long time, and mom is, you know, just wanted me to request that simply. So that could be noted somewhere. Somebody could maybe talk to them. She get a few more pictures than the ones that she is getting, if possible.
Yeah, Ms. Hunter, I have no problem with that, and that's a pretty simple thing to do anymore with telephones. You know, being a camera in everybody's hand. So if they would maybe step up, you know, and send some more photos to you so you can forward those to mom.
That's Your Honor.
And Judge, can I ask Ms. Hunter something real quick?
Sure.
Ms. Hunter, and on that note, is it your understanding that placement and mom do have conversations
Yes, they do.
and do have contact with each other?
Yes, they do.
Is that regular contact?
Yes.
Do foster parents respond with mom with sending photos when she asks?
Yes. Foster mom has shown me her conversations between them, because that's part of the questions that I ask whenever I do go out every month, is to inquire about communication with mom and how that's been going.
Mm-hmm.
And foster mom has been very honest and open with me in regards to her communication with Miss Martinez. Whenever Tina asks for photos, she generally sends them within, you know, no later than the next 24 hours. It just kind of depends whenever Miss Martinez texts her or if Miss Paris at work.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, then. Today I'm going to order that Ms. Martinez go drug test, do a UA before 4 o'clock this afternoon. I will grant the extension in the case due to extraordinary circumstances. Find that we need to continue to work with mom and the kids. I will sign an order granting that extension, and we'll set the new dismissal date of February 7th of 2025. Continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the children's current placement. St. Francis will look to see if there's any possibility of getting them moved closer to Amarillo. Find that there's a continuing danger to return the children home today, and that the department's using reasonable efforts to reunify the family. Okay, our next review hearing is scheduled for November 12th of 2024. That's on a 9 o'clock docket. And then our final is scheduled for February 4th of 2025, also on a 9 o'clock docket.
And Judge, I apologize. I started typing something. Did you order, we can do the additional parenting? And
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I am going to order the additional parenting through the individual counselor, and you know, that will be incorporated with ongoing individual counseling and therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to order it until the therapist releases her.
Yeah.
So I think we've still got some work to do. So,
thank you.
all right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a wonderful day.
All right, we are here today on review hearings in both cases. Before we take that up, we'll take announcements, but I do want to address the intervention that's been filed by Ms. Fouts on behalf of Eric and Ashley Parr. All right, and I'll go ahead and announce Mr. Hammonds could not be present today. He's in a different court, but he has filed a little report by email. which I can address when we get to that point, but I'm not expecting him, nor is his client logged in. So, all right, everybody else can go ahead and announce.
Daniel Trow for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Christina Hunter is my primacy specialist. We're present, ready on it.
Brooks Barfield for Tina Martinez. Tina's present. I'm ready. We're ready.
Maureen-
Go ahead. Sorry.
I know you're fine. Maureen Lucero on behalf of the unknown father honor. I'm present, ready.
Leanne Faust for the interveners. Mr. and Mrs. Pear, we're present and ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the children.
Okay. All right. I saw that the intervention had been filed. I don't know if there's been any opposition to that intervention or any motion to strike, but since Ms. Fouts and her client are present today, I think we need to address that to determine whether or not they can participate in today's hearing.
Your Honor, I have filed an answer and I am preparing a motion to strike and quash the intervention as we speak. I will get that filed. I object to the intervention in this particular case strenuously, and I don't usually use silly words and adjectives for objections on multiple grounds that I can set forth if need be. So yeah, I would object to them participating at this particular point.
All right. Well, we weren't scheduled today to hear any contested issues regarding the intervention. So, excuse me, Ms. Fouts, until I grant you all leave to intervene, I'll let you all just stay where you are and you can listen in today, but I'm not going to deem you as parties just yet. Looks like we may need to have a special hearing set on that. So as soon as Mr. Barfield gets his pleadings filed, I assume he'll be requesting that.
That's correct.
And I would just ask Mr. Barfield, I apologize, but I haven't seen your answer. So could you just make sure that if it doesn't come through the e-file, that whatever you file is directly emailed to me, because sometimes I have issues with NTS e-filing. It just depends on who your server is. Sometimes NTS will block that e-file. So if you don't mind just emailing it to me directly, I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Did he not hear?
I'll do that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, then. So, Mr. Trout, who are we going to get an update from?
Ms. Hunter, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Hunter.
Yes, ma'am. So kids are doing great. As Ms. Fouts stated, Elizabeth is home today. She's got a little bit of a tummy issue going on, but I think it's actually because she's got 3 more teeth coming in. In true Elizabeth nature, she likes to do a lot of things at one time. So otherwise, the kids are doing great. Camden was Iron Man for Halloween. I got to see him in his Iron Man costume. It was very cute. The kids are doing well overall. Camden is still engaging in speech services in school, as well as doing his behaviors have gotten better in school as well. Sky is still engaging with ECI for all her services that she needs to be able to improve as well. She did recently have a psychological that was going to be getting done on her. We were just concerned about some developmental issues, and so we just wanted to make sure there was a thorough assessment completed on her. We are still waiting for those results to come back at this point as well.
And yeah, Judge, while we're giving an update, as far as the RICO children, Dad's paternity testing did come back, that he is the father, so we would need to proceed on the adjudication if we can on that.
Okay. That was an issue Mr. Hammond's raised in his email to me, which was he hadn't seen any results yet.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have those been filed?
I think so, but let me check. I'm checking again real quick here.
Yeah, I'm gonna look too.
Yes, ma'am. Looks like they were filed August 1st, I believe, Your Honor.
He was also made aware of the results, Your Honor. I personally told Joe myself while he was incarcerated.
Okay, very good. Okay, anything else from the department or St. Francis?
As far as Mr. Rico is concerned, I've not had any contact with him since he has been out of jail. He did receive 6 years deferred adjudication on September the 16th. I've not heard from him. His PO's not heard from him either. So we're playing his PO and I are playing phone tag with each other. But I did reach out to his attorney as well at the end of October, and he had not heard from Joe either. So we're still trying to make contact with him again. In regards to Tina, I did go out to her home. She does have car seats for the kids. She is working on trying to acquire beds for them. When I last spoke with her at the end of last month, she wasn't certain as to where she was planning on going to work, if she was going to go back to JPS or move forward with Tyson. So she's still trying to get the employment piece figured out. She did get her tickets resolved that she had. And so legally she's clear as far as that part is concerned now. And so she should be able to move forward with obtaining her driver's license.
Okay. Maybe Mr. Barfield knows, but is she going to have all kinds of monetary hurdles on that driver's license? Reinstatement fees and all that?
Yeah, she's obviously she's going to have to pay the DPS is going to require the fees. They're not going to waive anything. So she's obviously going to have to pay whatever fees are necessary to obtain her driver's license.
Okay, I didn't know if she had any surcharges and that kind of stuff.
I don't know an exact number today, Your Honor,
Okay.
on that. I'm sure Tina can get that to me.
Okay, Ms. Martinez, do you know about that yet?
No, ma'am. I had went up there and they told me that I have to take, since I'm only 18, that I have to take a 6-hour course for $150 and then a $40 one for an hour.
Okay. All right. And then you can get your driver's license?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, maybe this is a program they've got in lieu of some of those surcharges. I don't know. Haven't looked into any of that stuff in a long time. Okay.
And Judge, I think we'd like to go ahead and get a mediation order on this case, to see exactly where we're going and how we're going.
Sure. Yep. It would fall under our standing order anyway. So y'all want an attorney mediator?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. We will see who that's going to be. Miss Katie also, I think, put in the chat about a hearing on the intervention. She said December 3rd or 5th at 9 o'clock. So if everybody wants to look at that, and you can weigh in on the chat, or you can just chime in here, see if we can't get that scheduled.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
December 3rd would work for me. I can move some things around in the morning at 9 o'clock. I just can't do the 5th.
Okay.
I'm subject to a jury trial on the 3rd. Right now I'm set number 5. It's criminal trial, so we know how criminal trials work. So right now I appear, and then I have a Perez Crowell bench trial that we have that set at 9 that morning on the 3rd.
Okay. Well, let's Ms. Lucero said the 3rd could work for her.
Works for us too, Your Honor. It could.
We'll set it on the 3rd, obviously subject to your jury trial, Mr. Barfield, if you know.
Yeah, and the bench trial, I don't know if this bench trial's in front of you or it's Armstrong County case. I always get confused.
No,
So
it'll be me.
that's what I thought. So we have that on our, but it looks like we're scheduled. Yeah. So that's what I've got.
The docket set at 9 o'clock. I can't tell you exactly the time slot. That final will likely be at the end of the docket. You know.
Okay.
And Judge, 3rd and 5th, I'm with you that day anyway, so we're good on that one.
Okay. So, Ms. Katie, can we just go ahead and set this hearing on the intervention first on the docket that day?
Yes, and I'll have to verify with Mr. Hammonds too.
Yeah, we will have to check with him. So, okay. Everybody know that we're trying real hard for the 3rd, and we will likely try to set it first so that Ms. Fouch, you'll know exactly kind of what you're dealing with time-wise, and then everybody else will too. So
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, then, Mr. Barfield, anything on behalf of Ms. Martinez today?
No, other than I believe she's she's worked, I guess, most of all her services, and obviously we will deal with the intervention later. I don't know that we have anything for today's hearing necessarily. Tina, do you have anything that you at this particular point that you need addressed?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Hammond's hadn't had contact. Essentially, he hadn't seen about the genetic testing results, but so we've got that back. If somebody doesn't mind, probably Daniel, if you don't mind, shoot him an email. It just says we got those back. He may have just missed them in the e-filing or something.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay then, Ms. Zavala. Or excuse me, Ms. Lucero. My apologies.
Oh, you're fine. Your Honor, I don't have anything. I don't have any additional information for any unknown father, but if a name comes across, if folks will let me know, I would appreciate it.
Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala, sorry.
Your Honor, I'd like to get a little clarification on visitation. My notes were saying that Mom may have missed a month's worth of visits, or I'm just a little unclear on what the visit situation is. So I guess that question is from a center.
Sorry, I just didn't want to speak out of turn. So visitation is still set up for weekly. Unfortunately, Tina has missed several visits in a row due to not having transportation. We put in transportation requests for St. Francis to try to aid in getting her 2 visitations and back, but as we've stated before, it's never guaranteed. And it has been discussed with Tina multiple times to have that backup plan. When I spoke with her, like I said, at the end of October, I kind of asked like what was going on, why she hadn't been having a backup plan. And essentially, I'm hoping we kind of came to a resolution, but at this point, it's still unclear. So, but I'm hoping that moving forward, she will be able to be more consistent, because I think she missed 4 out of 5 visits from the beginning of October until the first week of November.
Your Honor, just as to the kids, they are doing very, very well in placement. I've got no concerns about that. I know that I missed the last hearing, but it just kind of feels like there hasn't been much forward progress in getting Mom ready to have the kids home since the last hearing, and that's my biggest concern. But I have no concerns about placement at this time.
Well, Stacy, in regards to just so since Tina's on here, what is your suggestion? What do you think needs to occur to move that forward? I'm just asking for your opinion.
Just in reading the reports, it sounds like we don't have clarification on living arrangements, and I think we've got to get that pinned down before we can even work towards that. I was concerned that it said that she didn't know how to work the car seats, but again, that seems like an easy fix. There just seems to be the job issue is up in the air. Who's going to care for the kids if they were to come home? It just feels to me like we're at the exact same spot of not knowing what, I mean, those they seem like pretty easy, transportation, employment, where she's living, who's going to care for the kids. And it feels like to me like we're in the same spot that we were back in the summer, and that there hasn't been any progress in any of those things, but I may be wrong.
Okay, well, I'll get Tina in, and we'll see if we can shore that stuff up. Thank you.
Okay.
Judge, real quick on a couple of those, if I could call Ms. Martinez and ask her a few questions, and maybe I'll ask some answers on some of those and see where she is.
Okay, that'd be fine. Ms. Martinez, if you can unmute for me and raise your right hand for me. Okay. All right, you may proceed, Mr. Trout.
Thank you, Honor. Ms. Martinez, as to if the children were to come home right now, have you worked on getting child care, or see who would care for the children while you're working?
Yes, sir. Christina had told me about CCMS, and I had turned the papers in, and they had already gave me a call back, but I didn't have the kids.
Okay, so that is a situation. Do you have a named daycare somewhere yet, or do you have to have the kids before that happens?
No, I have a daycare that I want them to go to.
Okay, and that one's under the program?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they would just be waiting on the children to be placed back with you in order to get that set up, finished up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. employment, where you stand on that right now?
Well, right now they had discharged me from JBS because I had split my disc and have a fractured L4 and a L5. Right now, I currently am going to therapy for it to gain muscles back into my back, on my lower back.
But as far as you were released, so right now you're unemployed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you looking elsewhere, applying, or you have to get this taken care of first? Where do we see?
No, they have they told me I could go back to work, and I'm trying to transfer from JBS to Tyson instead of driving all the way to JBS, and I can just go to Tyson closer to Amarillo.
Okay. Now you say you're wanting to do that and looking into it. Have you put in the paperwork? Where are we in that process, or is that just something you're thinking?
No, I have already put in the paperwork and I have the emails and everything. I'm just waiting for a call back for JBS to transfer my stuff to Tyson.
Okay. Do you have any idea when a start date or anything like that would be?
No, sir.
Okay. Once you do that, please give Ms. Hunter the information of when your start date is, your pay stubs, all your information once your job starts back up.
Yes, sir.
As to furniture for the kids, the beds, that sort of stuff, where do you stand on getting all of that?
I have the car seats, and this week or next week I do have a shipment coming in for bunk beds and a crib for Elizabeth.
Okay. Where you're still living in the same apartment?
The same house, yes, sir.
Okay. And who is living there at this time? I know we had some people move in and out, so where are we on living arrangements right now?
Right now, my name's on the lease, but my uncle he comes and visits because like before this whole case started, I said I did not want to live by myself. But once my kids come back, he does have a house and everything. He does not permanently live here. Like his stuff's here, but he does not I don't know, like my name's on the lease, but he comes and goes. But he has his own house.
Now you said he comes and goes. How often in a 7-day week, how many times does he stay there?
Like 3 or 4.
Okay, so majority of the time.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the reason being is because I have messages that Joe has tried to reach out to me through his mom and stuff, but from when this case started, I've already said I never wanted to live by myself.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know where Joe is right now?
The last that I heard was he was living with his mom.
Okay. Do you have good numbers for him?
I don't. I have no contact with him.
Okay. When's the last time you personally had contact with him?
The August 20 of last year when he got shot.
Okay.
It was August 3rd or 7th.
Do what?
I said it was like August when he got shot, the 7th or 8th.
Okay.
Whenever he got shot.
You're still working with the low offenders?
Yes, sir.
And all of that's still going well?
Yes, actually, I go and see her today.
Okay. So you're willing to continue to go see her till we kind of get done with this case?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And are you receptive to it? Are you learning stuff from? Are you making headway on stuff?
Yes, right now we do parenting, and me and her have a notebook that we written down my plan for when the kids come home, and the notebook that I do have is a parenting notebook that I read every day, and I have sticky notes all out of it, what I've learned and everything.
Okay. All right. But that is something you go weekly?
Yes, sir. Every Tuesday from 1 to 2.
Okay. All right. I believe that's all the questions I have right now, Your Honor. If Mr. Barfield or Ms. Zavala have anything else on that?
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Just briefly, Your Honor. Tina, now, other than meeting with your counselor, have you completed all your services?
Yes, sir. When they added the last hearing with my parenting, I do parenting with counseling.
Okay. All right. Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Martinez?
No, Your Honor.
Not at this time. So I do have one more question, Your Honor. I'm sorry. Ms. Martinez, as to the we discussed your driver's license situation earlier. Do you know, you said you had $150 class and then a $40 class to take?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what else monetary wise that's going to come up on that? Do you have any other surcharges or anything, or is it just those 2 classes then getting your license?
It's just them 2 classes and then getting my license. The 6 hour one is it's like a test that I have to answer questions at the end. And then since I'm 18, the hour one is like the signs and all of that.
Okay, so it's not classes for your tickets and stuff. This is classes to take your driver's license test is what you're talking about.
Yes, sir. I don't have no more tickets.
Okay, fines and surcharges, everything on that's taken care of.
Yes, sir.
Okay, have you set up a time to take these classes? Have you got that scheduled?
I've been reading up because they told me to get a book. So I've been reading on the book, and then I'm going to take the 6 hour one, and then I'm going to take the hour one.
Okay, so with the book, you're taking the study courses for?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any other questions for Ms. Martinez?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Okay. Anybody else have anything to report today?
Nothing to report, Judge. I would ask after this hearing if Tina and I could go in a breakout room and then we can just leave the meeting from there. After.
Sure. Be happy to.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
And Mr. Barfield, did you see Ms. Fout's email address in her?
I did.
Okay. Very good.
Judge, one question, Ms. Martinez, is to her living situation. One more, I forgot. Ms. Martinez, you said you're on the lease. Your uncle kind of stays with you. Are you paying the rent? You're not working right now. Are you paying the rent or is he paying the rent?
He's paying it right now because I'm not working. But when I was working at JBS, I was paying the rent.
Okay. Were you paying it in full by yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. But currently for the last, couple of months?
For like the last, yeah.
Okay. When did you hurt your back and get or out of work? How long has that been?
Like a month and a half too. I have the papers on it because they had prescribed me medicines and I get refills on them.
Okay. Have you let Ms. Hunter know about this? Has she seen the paperwork on medications you're on and all of that?
I have the first one when I went to the hospital. When I got her, I sent them to her, but the other ones I haven't, but I can.
Okay. Yeah, if you would get that to her, because if you test and something pops up, we need to know about it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do believe that's all, Your Honor. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. All right, then. For today, I'm going to, of course, we're set to hear this intervention on December 3rd. Hopefully right at 9 o'clock. So we'll try to make that the first thing on the docket that day. We'll check with Mr. Hammonds, make sure that's going to work. I am going to order you all additionally to go to mediation before January 20th of 2025. It looks like Chris Rampelmeyer will be your mediator. So you'll have to get that scheduled with him. Obviously, if y'all start getting that, I just as soon you start trying to get that scheduled with him, keep Ms. Fouts in that loop just in the event she is, granted leave as a party, or her clients are granted leave as a party. She can always take it off her calendar if for some reason that motion to strike, is successful. But we all know Chris is a busy guy, so I would love for you all to start trying to circulate dates on that. Okay, I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the children's current placements. I'll find that there's a continuing danger to return the children home today. The department will continue to use reasonable efforts to reunify the family. And I'll see everybody back for our trial, which is scheduled for February 4th of 2025, and that'll be on a 9 o'clock docket.
And Judge, I may have not heard you. Did we adjudicate Mr. Rico?
Oh, I didn't address it today. I'm sorry. We can, even though Mr. Hammonds isn't present. My apologies. Based on the genetic testing that's been conducted, I will adjudicate Joe Rico, establish the parent-child relationship between him and each child. And when you shoot Mr. Hammonds that email about genetic testing, you might let him know too. I've gone ahead and adjudicated his client.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you for reminding me. I apologize. I meant to do that and got sidetracked. So, okay. Thank you all so much, and everybody have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge, I have one question.
Yeah.
Since she's only intervened on the RICO case, do we need a hearing on the other case as well that same day?
No, we won't.
Okay, so I think Ms. Lucero's only on the Martinez case, so she won't need to appear, will she?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. At this point, Your Honor, I didn't realize that I hadn't seen the intervention myself, so I didn't know she had intervened on the other child. But okay, so I won't need to appear on the 3rd, right?
No, that's correct, isn't it, Ms. Fouch? You've only intervened in one case, right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
That's what I thought. Okay. All right, then, for those of you that'll be back then on the 3rd, I'll see you then. And then I'll see everybody back in February.
It's a bird, when she signs in, that'll be Christina signing back in.
All right. So while we're sitting here waiting, do y'all have mediation set in this case yet?
I believe the judge ordered it, if I'm not mistaken.
It's ordered. I want to say
Yeah, it is ordered. Yeah, go
the
ahead.
date is January 27th, I think is what we're looking at right now. I know, Brooks, you had responded, and I just responded back to it.
That I responded. Odds are that was not me responding.
I don't know what that looks like from Ms. Zavala,
So
or Didi or anybody.
I need to pull up the rest of the emails, but the last I saw, we were trying to decide between mediators, and I was fine with either that was suggested.
Yeah, it looks like 27th will work for me, so.
Stacey, I think that was a different case.
Oh, okay.
Is that, you talking about the emails from yesterday?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that's on a different case.
Okay.
Okay, so y'all have agreed on the 27th?
That's been they sent out some dates right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they sent out 15 dates, Judge, so we ought to be able to find one.
I know Brooks's office stated the 27th of January was the best for him out of those dates. That date works for us, so I just emailed back, so waiting to hear back from the mediator to get it officially scheduled.
Okay, good, because you guys are up against a brick wall, so
Yes, ma'am.
let's get that
And if I
going.
haven't responded, I can do the 27th as well.
Good. Okay, so it looks like it's the 27th and y'all have agreed on a mediator.
Yes, ma'am. I believe it's Chris Rampelmeyer is the mediator on appointed to this.
Okay, thanks. Just wanted to check on that.
Judge, I'll explain to you Joe Rico's situation once we get started, but if he's dropped out of the picture, you still want me to go to mediation? I mean, there's nothing I can add, but.
Isn't he now the father? Did she get a paternity test back? Is this the one?
Yes, ma'am. I think in August it came back.
Well, I think until, excuse me, I think since is the adjudicated father, probably would be a good way to protect your license, since you've been appointed, unless he fires you, I would suggest you go.
Okay, that's fine.
That would not be a good thing.
He has shown some indifference here lately.
Well, take the crossword puzzle with you. That's pretty much what I would do. Rico, this is a hearing on an intervention request. And if I could have announcements, and that would, of course, begin with the intervener's attorney, please.
Lead and filed for the interveners, Eric and Ashley Pear were present, and my client Ashley is present. We're ready.
Thank you.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Brooks Barfield, for respondent Tina Martinez. We filed a motion to strike intervention, and we're ready.
Thank you, and I have read that.
T.D. Hammonds for the father, Joe Rico. Judge, he was released from jail September 16, 2024. He got 6 years deferred. He has not contacted me since his release. I called his probation officer. He has not reported to probation since his release. So I have no idea how to get a hold of him.
Okay, thank you.
Stacey Zavala on behalf of the children, although I believe this motion only involves one of the children.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so Ms. Fouts, this is your motion.
Yes, sir. We filed the intervention, and then Mr. Barfield filed the motion to strike on behalf of the mother. My clients have had Elizabeth most of her, if not close to all of her life. They have standing under the family code because she's been in their care for at least 12 months. And while I appreciate Mr. Barfield's motion to strike, I think my clients have standing. I think they have very, very relevant information to present to the court with regard to best interest. I think Mr. Barfield's arguments with regard to allowing this intervention interfering with his client's ability to complete her services and be punished for the extension is not necessarily relevant in the fact that this court doesn't necessarily have to grant our requested relief, but because best interest is the primary concern of the court, my client should have the ability to participate in the trial and present evidence with regard to best interest. In the event that the court reunifies the children with the mom, she's not harmed by our intervention. But I think because the ultimate best interest question is superior to the court, we meet our burden with regard to standing. With regard to Mr. Barfield's arguments regarding the separation of the children, again, we don't have standing with regard to the other children because they've only been in my client's care for 5 months, and I'm certain Mr. Barfield would file a motion to strike with regard to those children. It is not our intent to try and separate these children under any circumstances, but we should be allowed to present evidence to the court that's relevant to best interest in our own right. And so we're requesting the court grant leave for us to intervene in this case.
Thank you. Mr. Barfield, I've noted your objection, your response, and then what would you like to add, sir?
Well, first of all, it is not in the best interest to separate siblings. And that's exactly what this is an attempt to do. It's an attempt to carve up these children and take the child they want. Second of all, in regards to the only reason for the extension is my client completed her services and only agreed to work extra counseling services because she is a young mother. And so I don't think this motion is in the spirit of the statute or even the nature of the statute or the historical relevance of the statute. I also think this absolutely is an attempt to destroy this family. And I don't think that's in the best interest of the children. I think this will have an absolute chilling effect on any counsel representing a parent agreeing to work extra services. So it's going to have a really bad effect. I know for one, now that I know this is going to happen, I'm not going to advise a client again to agree to work extra services to try to do better because I have to worry about predatory motions coming in to carve up my family of my clients, Your Honor. So this is not in the best interest of these children. It's absolutely adverse to the best interest of this family. Therefore, I appreciate the fact that Ms. Fouts is doing her job, obviously, but I don't think this is in the best interest of the children by any stretch of the imagination. And I do not believe that this is what the intent of this statute and the family code was written to do. This statute was written in this particular case for the situation where you have a situation where a parent is absolutely not complying. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. And there's no hope for reunification. So this provides a means for placement to keep the children from potential adoption. So I don't believe that best interest is a valid argument in this particular case. My client completed her services. Had we known this was going to happen, we'd have said, no, we're not going to agree to work any more service. So I think this is going to have a really chilling effect on cases in the future because as an attorney representing a parent, you now have to say, hey, guess what? Don't work any extra services because you risk potentially losing your child from placement. And I do not believe that is the historical nature of the statute, Your Honor. I think it would be a different situation had Tina been forced to work other services or had not completed her services. Yeah, I think that's a different scenario. And my position would be different in a case such as that, where I had a client who just wasn't complying with the court orders. Then in that particular situation, I think, I would probably agree with Ms. Fouts that an intervention might be necessary. So I also made some jurisdictional arguments. To placement is not in the jurisdiction of this court, and therefore they do not have standing jurisdictionally to bring this. They are in Lubbock. They are not under the jurisdiction of this court for any type of a SAPSR intervention jurisdictionally. So pretty much I just regurgitated what I put in my motion, Judge, and I'll shut up.
Thank you. Mr. Hammond, I'm sorry?
May I respond briefly?
Let me get around real quick and then you can. Mr.
Okay,
Hammond.
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hammonds, did you have anything?
No, Judge.
And Ms. Zavala?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, now Ms. Fouts, please.
Your Honor, all of his arguments he will make and can make before the court when the final hearing is presented to the court with regard to best interest. The issue before the court today is should leave be granted for the interveners to have the ability to present evidence on that issue. If the legislature had decided that no, a foster parent can't intervene because someone's gotten an extension, then they would have provided for that. But they did grant foster parents the right to have standing to intervene in a lawsuit after the child's been with them for 12 months. Certainly, his arguments about separating the children can be presented to the court at a final hearing. But with regard to our right to intervene and whether the court should grant us leave to intervene, we meet the necessary legal burden to do so. The jurisdictional arguments are moot arguments. This is the court of continuing jurisdiction. We have no choice but to file in this court. Even if my clients lived in Alaska, we would have the right to intervene jurisdictionally in the pending lawsuit. So while I appreciate Mr. Barfield's arguments, they are not relevant for purposes of granting us leave to intervene. All of that evidence can be presented at the final trial and the court can make its decision.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone?
No, Judge.
No, Judge.
Mr. Barfield, I understand and sympathize with your burden, but procedurally and following the law, as basically I'm supposed to do, and I try to do, I do believe that they have met the burden of the 12 months. I don't think there's much argument as to your other, they're very creative, but the 12-month is the threshold, and I believe that allows them to intervene as to the one child, which of course would allow them to be at the mediation. So sorry about that as far as Mr. Barfield for your client, but if she's doing what she's supposed to do, it'll be a moot point for the foster parents.
Can I just, for the purposes of the record, Your Honor, can I just make one more?
Sure.
I'm not arguing. I don't argue after the court's made a ruling. I would like to object to the court's ruling in that this statute is unconstitutional under the United States Constitution and the Texas Constitution, in that it violates the public policy of the state of Texas in regards to biological parents having the primary right to custody of their children. With that being said, I understand the court's ruling.
Well, thank you. And for someone who's practiced law probably longer than all of you, they have narrowed down what their rights are. So this is pretty thin and they have a pretty high burden, but I understand your frustration. So thank you all very much. Good luck. And please get that mediation set in concrete.
It is, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. We'll go off the record.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.